Here's development update number 1 of Catan in Minecraft. So what we have here is a preliminary version of Catan in Minecraft. So as you can see on the map here, we have the entire Catan board with some settlements and roads already in place. And what I'll show you from this development update is how all the tiles are placed, how numbers can be placed, how roads, settlements, and cities can be placed, and how the game can be reset. Other than the board mechanics, we simply have a method of collecting resources from just pulling from each of these shulker boxes. And when you want to pay, you drop them back here, and they get automatically sorted. We have a preliminary command that we can run just to set our number of victory points. So I can show you how you do that. You just go here, and then you can put in as many points as you want. And you'll see on the right side of the screen that being updated. We also have an automatic randomizer for the dice rolls. And what you'll see from that is if we hit the roll dice button, the map field will update, and we'll also get a text chat with the numbers, which is very useful for debugging. So real quick, we'll just take a look at how the redstone works for the dice rolls. And it's relatively straightforward. There's going to be 2 of the same circuits here, one for each die, and we'll just take a look over here to see how it works. So I'll just pop on under here. So the button is right behind here, which I'll break just for now, just to show. You hit this button, and it activates this circuit here. And this basically chooses a number 1 through 6. Each of these shulker boxes has a different amount of blocks inside of each one of them. 1 will have the least, 2 will have an increased amount, and so on. And these numbers actually correspond to a signal that will be output from this comparator when the shulker is placed there. So when the first signal comes in, the shulker gets placed, and then after some delays, the dispenser will pop it off and feed it right back into the system. We read from this circuit by looking at the power value on this redstone line. So if I open my F3 debug here, in the top right, let's see if I can, right about here, it says my targeted block is a redstone wire, and the power is a 0. So if I activate the circuit, which I can just do by just putting a button right here, what you can do is quickly look at that power on this output here, and it'll give you a number. And how we actually spit that out into the text chat and to the real world on the maps is by using these command blocks here. So there's 6 of them, with the one that requires a little bit of more work for the cloning commands over there. But the idea is generally like this. So let's look at 6. What it does is it's going to check if the block that we looked at earlier, that's the redstone wire, is a redstone wire with the power level that we're looking for. In this case, 6. So if that's true, it's going to run the clone command of those coordinates there to this coordinate and replace them. Likewise, it's also going to check if it's 6, and it's the same if command. And if so, it's going to write to the chat red 6. And this is going to be the same for 5, 4, 3, and so on. And also repeated for the other side. So it's a relatively straightforward concept. And I think it's a pretty cool execution and way to get it into the actual server log so we can actually read the data from it, as well as update a map to see it graphically. As a test, to see if our rolls in Catan are actually random, what we did was recorded the output, as you could have seen in the text chat there, for a sample size of about 1,147 rolls. And we brought that data into Excel and extracted it and did a little bit of analysis on it. So as you can see here, basically these two columns are the rolls, and in Catan what you do is you sum them to find your number, and what you should get is a discrete normal distribution that looks somewhat like this, which is promising because this is our output here. So this is our I'll zoom in a little bit. This is our 2 dice roll distribution. And as you can see, the 7s have the highest frequency, and the 2s and 12s are the lowest frequency. Another way to verify that the rolls were random is to just plot each die or each dice separately. And as you can see here, each of these should be about the same size, and they are, to some respect. There is one concerning data point between the two. So they both had low frequencies in respect to the mean at number 4, which does make us believe there might be something wrong with how 4 is obtained in the redstone. So that would be something to consider. However, for a sample size of about 1,000, there's a mainly normal distribution. Another friend of ours actually did a t-test analysis on it to determine if it was a truly normal distribution, and that turned out to be true. So no significant difference from an actual normal distribution for an alpha of 0.05, if that means anything to you. Anyway, that is how we verified that the dice rolling was a success. Here's all the masters. These are basically cloned right onto the board according to this control panel. So on this control panel, they all look exactly the same. In the top you have 6 tiles to select from: the desert, the forest, ore, brick, pasture, and the farm. And then you have all the numbers to select from. There's even a 7, which is unnecessary. So I'll show you what you can do. You just select one of them, and you'll see the map update. That has 2 on it now. Change that to a 5. It goes. And if we need to put a robber on it, we can do that. And if we need to remove the robber, we can do that. And it's the same deal for all of them. So these would just correspond to which one we're in. If you need to change a tile, what you can do is reset and make it whatever you need it to be. Alright, so next, for selecting which settlement and which roads go on here, you just use one of these color coordinated buttons. And it's relatively straightforward. There's no big button, so we used this orange one. So that would be a settlement, and to upgrade it to a city, you hit the button in the center. And that's essentially it. Ports are still something that's in the works. But yeah, you can see we have the different types of tiles here. This would be a sheep, or grain, bricks, lumber, and of course in the center we have the desert. And you may notice, yeah, it's encased in glass. That's something you need for the clone commands. And once you're done setting up the board, you can hit this button to remove all the glass. You'll see there should be no more glass there. So this is kind of what it would look like mid-game if all the numbers were on there. When you're finished playing, you can erase the entire board. And it's back to just blank board. And then you can slowly go through and add whatever you want. So I'm just going to set up a board real quick. So that is board setup complete, and we'll just clear the glass there. So this would be ready to play now. So, you know, this is our first iteration, and it's very crude. As you can see, we have lots of test redstone in the distance. Everything's kind of scattered. We have just random clones out in the distance just for testing. And you have to do a lot of things manually, like set up the whole board. So as we move along, eventually maybe a random board setup, so you don't have to think about it. It'll just go through and randomly assign everything. And then just kind of clean up everything, make it more polished. When we play, what we'll do is, you know, for example, I get some sheep, I'll give myself however many I need, and then I'll have a little area, and I'll just put 2 down to represent how much I have. But we play with some different house rules than regular Catan. And that's what we wanted to make this. We wanted to make sure it was very open. So you can kind of play as you normally would. And set up, you know, your own types of development cards and everything like that. We call them gambling, of course. Put this here. Put a button there. It'll give you whatever it is. So, our bodyguard, for example. That's a card that you play, and it protects you from the robber for 1 turn. And it's just something that we came up with, so it's not real. You throw it back to the system. So I'll just show you a little bit about how the setup would go. So, you know, black might go first. Pink may go. Maybe red goes here. I don't really know if these are good spots. I'm not checking. That was a terrible spot. Yes. How about the 849? That would be a good spot. And I think we still need blue. Blue may go this way. And so on. So as you can see on the map, and it's pretty easy and distinct to see the 4 colors, which is why we picked red, pink, black, and blue. Yeah, and that's about where this development is. We'll post more videos as our game progresses. Thanks for watching.